Sean, you guys went inside and in shells today. Just was that a change in the situation, or was that just scheduled?
Well, look, today was a padded day scheduled, so we went helmets and shoulder pads. Yeah, we just changed it up by going inside. Tomorrow we'll be back outside. We'll do that periodically, and we were still on an hour and a half time slot with today's schedule.
Sean, now that you guys have kind of worked with Deontay a little bit, had a year with him, and now you're working him into the offense a little bit more, what have you seen from him so far? Do you see him developing in that receiver role?
Yeah, look, I think to his credit, he's been ready for more and more, and every time we've added a little bit more to his plate, he's handled it pretty well relative to the route tree, and so we're trying to keep finding roles for him because he does so many things well. But I think that began to happen last year, and after looking at the tape, it certainly will be something we focus on in this camp and then heading into the season.
Hey, Sean, after day 2, do you feel like Bennie Fowler is starting to grasp this offense? Or just what have you seen from him that you maybe liked?
Well, look, he's a smart veteran player. I think there's a physicality to how he plays. I think he can help us in the kicking game. I think he's a guy that that can block on the perimeter, and I think he understands who he is and what he has to do to make the team. And those are a few areas that he's going to have to excel in.
Sean, with Davenport coming back off the injury, how have you seen him progressing so far?
I think he had a good off season. He was here with rehab. I like how he's put together right now. His weight's up, and I think his strength is up. So so far so good in this camp. I think he certainly understands the defense now, and just putting practices together like he's doing and working on his technique. But it's good to have him back out there.
When you say his weight, so was that kind of a gradual increase you guys wanted to see? I mean, not to add too much to him too soon?
Yeah, I think so. We're comfortable enough to where he's still, playing with the speed we want and yet strong enough to handle what comes his way relative to the run game and certain protections.
What did you see from Ethan Wolf that made you want to bring him in?
Well, look, he gives us some additional depth there. He's a strong player. We look at him more as like an inline tight end who can play on the line of scrimmage and block. He's had some pretty decent preseason snaps that we've seen, and so it gives us a chance really to look at what we think might be a developmental blocking tight end that can also do some things in the passing game.
But if Davenport a guy that you think has enough level that is quite elevate, and it's a guy maybe that you're counting on to elevate his level this year?
You were breaking up just a little bit. Try that again. Yeah.
I apologize. Is Marcus Davenport a guy that has another level he can go up? And is he maybe a guy that you're counting on to advance a level in his performance this season?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Look. We've seen improvement in how he's played, and we've seen not just flashes, but we've seen production. And with someone like him staying healthy and being out there, we're a much better defense.
Coach, versatility seems like something that this team is really kind of putting a focus on. Can you speak about what you've been seeing out of Ty Montgomery in practices?
Yeah, look, he's gotten a lot of the work and his reps with the running back position. Certainly we can move him outside, and he's one of those players that does have versatility. I think he's a guy that understands the passing game well, and he's also got a pretty good burst relative to handling the football and the running game. I thought he had a good practice today. So there are some things that, from a flexibility standpoint, he's a unique player, and we'll try to take advantage of those things. All right, thank you guys.
question is from Mike Triplett. Mike?
Hey, Demario. Ask you about Malcolm Jenkins. I know you've worked closely with him in the Players Coalition. Did you know him at all before that? And what has impressed you about how dedicated he is to all the things?
Well, yeah, I've worked with Malcolm on several things since I came in the league. Being a part of NFLPA together, being a part of the coalition together, a little bit after it was formed. So we've had an opportunity to work together in several spaces. Always been able to respect his game from afar. So having him in the locker room has just been wonderful. We've already linked up on a couple of ideas and projects that we want to get involved in off the field. It's been great having his leadership and his experience on the field. You can just already tell just in some of the conversations we're able to have after plays about what we saw and able to see the things the same way. So when you got guys that have experience, it doesn't matter when they come from other teams. They've seen so many of the same set, same formation, same type of plays, and know how to look at the game from a format standpoint, or looking at some of the different formations, tendencies, concepts, and just having a understanding of it that you can kind of have conversations that you can't necessarily have with young guys right off the bat.
Next question from John DeShazer. JD?
Demario, we heard Alvin kind of gushing about your study habits and your ability to kind of call things out for an opposing offense. When did you know how vital studying was going to be for you, and how much more of it do you do now than when you were younger?
I was fortunate to come in with some great coaches and some great players. I was drafted by Rex Ryan, and him and Dennis Thurman, taught me a lot about breaking down film and understanding opponents. But I also had the opportunity to play with great guys like David Harris, Antonio Cromartie, Darrell Revis. And so watching those guys, that was something even when I was a young guy that I wanted to grow in my game and my study habits. I knew it would help me become a better player. And then fortunately, in my third season, I had the opportunity to play with Ed Reed, and we formed a relationship, not just on the field, but off the field. So in the off season, I was able to spend a lot of off seasons with him, picking his brain on how he studied for opponents, and learn how to look at formations, tendencies, read quarterbacks, read alignment, and that just helped me continue to grow in my study habits. And that's something I take so serious that I don't even think now that I've even begun to break through the cusp of what I can learn. I was even picking his brain a lot this offseason and just taking a deeper dive into how he studied tape. And I think it's just helped me tremendously.
How much of a day for you can it consume?
It's different. Right now, of course, it's training camp, so it's not as much study as it is just individual techniques. I'm not really studying our offense. I'm just looking at myself and things and areas I can grow in, and still trying to perfect my game and my craft. And as you get into the season, different teams take different amounts of study. It's all about just getting to a point where you feel comfortable.
Next question is from Captain Terrell.
Hey, Demario, I have two questions. I was wondering, first of all, were they giving you a breather at all today? It seems like they're subbing in other linebackers a lot.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Hey, I was wondering, were they giving you a lighter snap count today? It seems like they're subbing in other linebackers a lot.
Oh, no, I mean, our coaches, they do the rotation, how they want to. Of course, we got 80 guys right now, so,
right.
They rotate. That's on the coaches.
My other question was just how has Zach Baun been able to handle dropping into coverage, and are there any certain things you've worked with him on to try to help him along?
Yeah, I think when you have young guys come in that you want to see and have the ability to contribute early on, it's about trying to keep the game simple for him. He has a lot to be able to try to diagnose. It's a lot asked of our linebackers here. But what I try to help him is, just keeping the game real simple. Some areas that he has to focus on a little bit more than others. It's not necessarily about grabbing the whole playbook. It's just understanding, what's the one role that they're asking you to come in and play right now, and locking in on that and keeping the game simple So for young guys, if they can keep the game small their first year and then their second year grow it a little bit more, their third year grow, that's how you prevent from stunting their growth. You see, young guys like Chauncey Gardner or C.D. Deuce have good success because he was able to keep the game small and simple in his first year, and now he's able to expand his mind and grow. And so I think if Zach can do that, and some of our younger guys can do that, they'll have that same amount of success.
Next question is from Brooke Kirchhoffer.
Hey, Demario, to piggyback off of what JD was saying, we talked to Michael Hodges this offseason, and he described you as an intentional learner, and you take an approach just as good as anybody. I'm curious what's your relationship like with him, and what are some of those areas that you talked about that you are heading into the season wanting to focus on? Oh,
man, Hodge is great. We've had a great relationship and a great bond. It was almost instantaneous when I first came. Especially I think we know some of the same people. He knows really good with my linebacker coach, the head coach in Indiana, Tom Allen. And so we were able to connect like right off the bat. And even on game days, Coach Nolan was in the booth, and so Hodge was down on the sideline. So we got a chance to form a really great relationship. And he just, he's focused on pulling the greatness out of all of us. And so even this offseason, just giving me things that I could work on, areas where he's seen that I could grow in a lot. That's always important. You want coaches who know how to coach you hard, challenge you, that know how to motivate you and bring the best out of you. And I think he has all that. And so he's been a phenomenal coach to work with.
Next question is from Amy Just.
Hey, Demario. My question is about Alex Anzalone. What's it like getting him back after, he's been, gone for quite a while?
Yeah, I think Alex brings a lot to our defense. I think that the sky is the limit for him. When you see a linebacker with his skill set, he has speed, he has size, he has agility, he can cover, he can blitz. He's really smart, not just in the classroom, but, football IQ. And, looking forward to him being able to have, a full season to be able to put it all on display and, just really show his value. I remember when I first got here, he was somebody that caught my attention because of his athleticism and his football intellect. And I just think, when he's able to show all that he has and his skill set on a high level, I think a lot of people will be raving about him.
Questions from John DeShazer.
Hey, Demario, you mentioned the aquatics part of conditioning that you added this off season with the water workouts. I just wanted to know if they were working out, conditioning-wise, the way you felt like they were going to pay off in practice.
Yeah, I kind of liken it to getting a new car, getting a new Ferrari, and you're just really ready to test drive it. And so, in practice, you're only able to do so much. But let's just say, I'm excited to take the new wheels on the spin.
Next question is from Mike Triplett.
Hey, Demario, I just wanted to follow up on Malcolm. He describes himself, funny enough, as a natural introvert. But what impresses you about his personality when it comes to organizing and leading the charge with so many of the dynamic personalities involved in that players' coalition?
Yeah, I think him and Q do a good job as being the founders and kind of the leading voices in the coalition. You have a lot of alpha males in that group, especially on the task force, and so all of us are very opinionated and have very strong personalities, and so being able to balance those dynamics isn't necessarily easy, and I think they do a good job of that, and it's just a good collective group that I enjoy working alongside.
Okay, last question from Catherine Terrell. Kat?
Hey, I just wanted to expand on something you mentioned earlier. When you said linebackers have a lot of responsibilities in this defense, could you give an example of maybe how that responsibility you might have in this defense that's different from previous staff?
Do you just mean in general, like linebackers versus other positions?
Just how, maybe like the Saints would differ in what they're asking of their linebackers than another defense you've played in, if that makes sense. So I was just wondering if it's any different than your other staff.
No, I don't know if it's necessarily different. Linebackers traditionally on all defenses are, especially the inside backers, are kind of your quarterback of your defense. So not only from the time that the offense breaks the huddle do they have to get the defense lined up. So they usually have to give a front a communication to let them know what side they're set on. Then they have to give the coverage a side, what side they're supposed to roll down to, or what side the blitz is coming from, and if the safeties are involved or the nickel is involved. So the linebackers have to communicate that. And then if an adjustment happens, like a receiver goes in motion or a tight end shifts or they create a new formation, it's typically on the inside linebackers to tell the whole defense what type of adjustment is being made. And so just having to understand that from a linebacking concept or standpoint is just a little bit more that's asked of other positions. So you have to be in tune to the whole, not only your whole defense, but also everything that the offense is doing at all times.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I just didn't know if you were just speaking generally as a linebacker or just that it's different. Thank you.
Yeah, it's different. It's generally the same. And so what's hard about it is as you go from team to team, it could be the same communication that you're making, but the words could be different. And so for a linebacker, most times it's just learning those new words.
Hey, I think we're all set. Thanks, Demario.
Hey, thank you guys. You guys be blessed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kirchhoffer.
Hey, Benny, I'm just curious, what was your first impression of Drew when you guys first started working out in Denver, and how has that translated to training camp now?
My first impression was that, he was a pro, and I was very excited just to have the opportunity to work out with him, playing with another Hall of Fame quarterback or getting the chance to play and work out with another Hall of Fame quarterback. I think my first impression was very unique because I was already at the field and I was already kind of warmed up, so I just kind of asked him and Emmanuel, like, hey, you guys need, 5-10 minutes to get ready? And Drew was, no, I probably need 25-30. And he went through his actual, pre-game warm-up, and I thought that was very impressive just in terms of the fact that he treats everything like a game and just his attention to detail.
Next question is for Amy Just.
Yeah, with that workout, what was it like to, catch passes from him? And now apparently he was a bit, really instrumental in getting you here. A guy like Drew Brees, future Hall of Famer, really wanted you here. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel really good. It makes me feel like all my hard work and dedication has paid off. Playing with guys like Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, I played with both of the Manning brothers for 2 years apiece, winning the Super Bowl, and just, I'm all about team first, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this team, and then whatever my role is on the team is to perfect that role. And for Drew to vouch for me like that, it really means a lot just because he is a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's a Hall of Fame person as well, and I just really appreciate, him going out of his way to help me get here.
Next question is from Mike Triplett. Mike?
Benny, how much of your game would you say is being a proficient blocker? Is that something that you do because receivers need to be okay at it, or is it a specialty of yours?
I think it's a specialty to me playing in the Big Ten, blocking for backs like Le'Veon Bell, playing with Kirk Cousins and things like that. Playing in the Big Ten, it's always about blocking for the running back first. We do run a lot just because it is cold up north. And that's one of the ways I made the team in Denver, was having to block and, do some of the dirty work. And that's exactly what I'm going to bring to this team is, whatever, doing the little things and blocking and making sure that whatever impact I can make on this team, I will make.
Next question is for Rod Walker. Rod?
Hey, Benny, I'm not sure how many receivers have played with both Mannings and Brees, and I guess you had a little time with Brady.
Yeah.
How are those guys sort of similar, and what are some differences in those guys?
I think the fact that I've gotten to play with all four of those guys, both Mannings, Tom Brady, and Breeze, they both have attention to detail. Their attention to detail, and they just notice the small things, but it's about being in the right spot. And it's all about cohesion, and it's all about, just winning. At the end of the day, that's what I take away from all of those guys. They all just want to win, and they're all different in certain ways and the way they throw the ball, but one of the biggest things that they all do is that their attention to detail is so great and it's so fine-tuned.
Is that something you've seen in Drew that you didn't see in those other three guys?
Yeah, Drew's attention to detail is right up there with all the quarterbacks that I've played, and his timing is incredible. Just the way he throws the ball, and he's on time with everything, going through every read, and you can just, even though I don't play quarterback, you could just learn a lot from his preparation and just the way he goes about his everyday business.
Nice. Next question is from Amy Just.
Hey, yeah, little off topic here, but with the Big Ten, not playing football this fall, I guess what was your reaction to that news as a guy who played in that league?
It's tough just because they don't have the everyday testing, and it's just tough because those kids have their dreams of making it to the NFL, and they go to college for education but also to play. But right now is the perfect opportunity for them to pivot and understand what life could look like after football. So I think there's pros and cons to it. Yes, they want to play, but right now they can't. So what's the next step? What does life look like after football? Focus on education. Just focus on what you can control. That's it sucks for those kids, but at the same time, this is an opportunity for them to develop as men. And for Michigan State, them having a new coaching staff, it's going to give them more cohesion.
Next question is for Christopher Dunnels.
Benny, you talked about some of the great quarterbacks you've played with, but you've also played with some really good wide receivers. So I was just curious what you've seen out of Michael Thomas now that you guys are on the same practice field.
Yeah, his work ethic is incredible, and his attention to detail and just the questions that he asks in meetings and the way he goes about his everyday business. He knows how to get open. He has some of the best hands I've ever seen. And just his route running ability. I don't think he gets enough credit for the way he runs routes and how crafty he is. Yeah, and he's definitely up there with the great receivers that I've played with, and Demarius, Wes Welker, Odell, and Emmanuel, now him.
Next question is from Kat Terrell.
Hey, I have two questions. My first was just about the process of you getting signed. Did you think anything was going to come out of that first workout, or did you and your agent kind of reach out to the Saints later in the summer to see if something could be done about a contract?
You know what? I just wanted an opportunity to get in front of Drew. So Emmanuel invited me, so I decided to go out there. And, a couple routes in, he asked me if I was on a team. And I was like, no, I'm not on a team right now because of COVID. I haven't had a chance to work out with anybody or travel to any teams. And he was like, I'm going to call our guys right after this. And, I was like, okay, so we'll see. And then, I think my agent maybe called me like a day or two later and said, yeah, Drew really did call about you. And whatever you did, you must have really impressed him. And, to get in front of a Hall of Fame quarterback, even just to catch passes from him, if nothing came out of it, I learned a lot from him. And I'm glad that, it did, come to this, to where they reached out to me and signed me. And, they just said, once training camp starts, we'll bring you in for a workout. And then we ended up, they just ended up signing me because Drew vouched for me so hard.
So first of all, that's an awesome story that worked out like that.
Thank you.
And second, you mentioned just being a blocker earlier. What position or role have they had you primarily playing since you joined the team?
Right now I'm just playing outside and inside. I'm learning the whole entire offense. That's the way I kind of go about things, just being able to fill in for anybody at any given time. But the way I learn all the positions and all the concepts. That's the way I've gotten into the league, and that's the way I've made teams, is to know all the positions so I can fill in anywhere.
And next question is for Rod Walker.
Hey, Benny, do you feel like you have to buy Emmanuel dinner for the rest of the year for making all this come about?
Buy him dinner? No, not necessarily. Emmanuel's like a brother to me, and he pulled me aside when, early in my career. So this is our 5th year playing together. So we have a great relationship like that, and we have a big brother, younger brother relationship. So, yeah, I'll definitely take him out to dinner, but I don't buy him dinner for the rest of the year.
Hey, I think we're all set. Thanks for the time, Benny.
All right, appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
Guys, Terron is getting dressed. You should be over here shortly. Armstead here. If you have a question for him, just type it in the chat. And first question is going to go to Sean Payton. Sean?
Hey, Terron, I'm just curious, in your experience, I know you guys have been together for a while, some of you guys are on the offensive line, but how long does it take for an O-line to really get that chemistry, cohesion, I guess, in practice?
I don't think it's an estimated time frame that we can say that really gives us that. It's just reps, just as many reps as we can possibly get. The more time we can have, more dialogue we can have, talking through things, and then going on the field working through things. I don't think it's just like a time frame that I can say is how much time we need to get that accomplished.
Next question is from Amy Just.
Hey, Terron, what's your early takeaway from seeing Cesar Ruiz in these past few practices?
It's been impressive. He's been impressive for sure. Even beyond the practices, off the field and the acclimation period we've had, just handling himself as a professional, being such a young player at this stage, hasn't taken an NFL snap yet, but you can see the first round, his pick justified. You can just see it from the way he carries himself and how he handles his business on the field. It's a ton of stuff to learn and to work through for sure, but you can definitely see why the organization was so high on him.
Hey, Terron, Nick Easton stepped up for you guys in a big way last year. Do you see that kind of translating this year in training camp? Maybe his confidence is up, or just how he handles himself?
Absolutely. We're gonna need every step, every person on this team, on this roster, and it's always got to be next man up mentality without a drop off. So we gotta make sure everyone is up and ready to go whenever the number is called. And it can be any day, any moment. And Nick is a guy that takes pride in his work and getting himself prepared to go and prepared to start too, not just to sit as a backup. He's trying to work his way and just be ready as a starter.
Next question from Kat Terrell.
Hey, Terron, in this particular offense, how much is asked of the center in terms of making the checks and protection calls? Is that largely on him, or would it be more on the quarterback?
Well, seeing that our quarterback is a Hall of Famer and an extremely bright guy,
right.
We're fortunate to have Drew Brees under center, and he sees things that most people don't. So he's making a lot of those checks calls. The center does have responsibilities, and up front we have our responsibilities as well to identify what we need to identify. Having someone like Drew that's been doing it for so long and at such a high level, he simplifies things for everyone, not even just the O-line.
Next question from Amy Just.
Yeah, again, through these first few practices, how have you seen Cesar and Eric kind of working together next to each other, regardless of who's at center and who's at guard?
It's been great. Two young great talents, really. Eric he's come in and he's looked like he's in his third or fourth year already. He just seems poised and experienced, and it's crazy to think it's just his second year and he's still a rookie to us. He's still got 3 games to go. So it's been smooth transition. Those guys work well together. Like I said, Cesar has handled himself with a great level of professionalism that makes it easy to work with someone like that, and exciting to work with someone like that. He's willing to take the coaching and criticism. Not as much rookie hazing anymore, but anything we ask him to do, he's on top of it.
Next question is from John DeShazer.
Ron, you might have already answered this to a degree, but if Cesar starts, or I guess when he starts, it could be the third rookie offensive lineman you guys have had starting the last 4 years. Can you pinpoint why you guys have been so successful at being able to work in rookie offensive linemen, going back to Ryan and then last year with Eric and now with Cesar?
I mean, you just think about those 3 talents you named. I mean, those 3 players, those are, exceptional names, to say the least. You're talking Ryan has already got some All-Pros under his belt. Eric will have him, and Cesar's working his way. So I think it's a hats off to the front office and scouting department, doing their homework, bringing in the right guys, and the system as well And by system, I'm talking to the offensive line coaches. You know, that tireless work they put in. Dan Rochar he's a workaholic, and it can get a little to be a bit much at times. But he just wants to see us excel and play our best football. So, you know, a combination of those things and those three great talents, success, and it's going to be a continued success going forward.
Next question is from Doug Mouton.
Hey, when you were answering Amy's question about Caesar, and I'm sorry for one more season.
And you're going to do it anyway.
You mentioned professionalism a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that's extremely important to you personally, right? And that's something that sort of your offensive line group is built on, right? His fit is good. Would you say that?
Yeah, for sure. I think the word, it's so much that goes into the word of professionalism. And it's an umbrella for, you know, being responsible, being accountable, doing your job at the highest level you can, you know, trying to better yourself, all those things that goes under that umbrella of professionalism. And we have so many guys that just come in with that or learn that early. And we got a real professional environment here. You know, we come to handle business. We have fun, for sure, but we come to handle business.
Next question is from Ro Brown.
Yes, Terron. I don't know how much you've kept up with it, but what's going on in college football with to play and not to play, the Power 5 conference, it's of course the conference you played in, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, said they're not going to go until maybe in the spring. Just your thoughts on that? Do you think that the Golden Lions will get to play this year or what?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I seen that about a month or so ago. And it's unfortunate. It sucks for sure. I mean, those young men had been putting in their work and dedicating themselves to play the game that they love. And just unfortunate. And it's the time that we are in right now. There's no one to blame or no correct protocol or right way to just do these things. We're learning on the fly. And so I hope at a point they get a chance to have that season, whether it's shortened or you know, a full season. But you know, wishing those guys the best, and I'm always rooting for that swag football.
Next question is from Kat Terrell.
Hey, Terron, when you think back to your first start late in 2013, what did you come away from that game thinking, oh, this is what I really need to improve on the most, or this is the most difficult thing I had to struggle with, if that makes sense? I'm just curious what's hardest for a young lineman to kind of get past and on their way to improvement or whatnot.
For me, it was more so embracing the experience. It was a big game with a lot on the line. You know, the magnitude of the game was just embracing that experience, everything that took place throughout the game, communication, crowd noise, snap count, all those things that I hadn't dealt with up to that point, you know. So just embracing that experience to the fullest, and being prepared for the next week, and you know, having more experience and knowing what to look for, what needs to be improved on, what I did well, what I didn't do well, and it's a tedious process, you know, paying attention to the small details and just trying to work on one thing at a time.
Next question is from Brooke Kirschhofer.
Hey, Terron, have you noticed a difference with Andres Pete not there, and how much has he just missed in these first 2 days?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a difference when we got a guy out. Just their presence, you know, we try to play and keep the same play calls and the same rules and blocking schemes the same, you know, regardless of if we're missing someone. But just Andrew's presence, now he's going into his 6th year, and he's been around for a while now, and he's a little bit more vocal. You guys know Andrews, he don't speak much, but you know, you get the occasional speak up in meetings, and you know, just talking to my friend in the locker room. So just that part not being there. As far as on the football field, I know he's going to be rehabbing and busting his butt to get back as soon as he can. He's a guy that you can see the most physical change from last year till now. So you know he's devoted his time and energy into coming back and being ready to play.
We got time for one more from Amy Just. Amy?
Yeah, following up on that, and you touched on it, you know, he noticeably worked this off season. I mean, he looks like a completely different person in some of the pictures that we've seen. How, I guess, frustrating is that, knowing he put in so much work this off season just to get derailed again?
Yeah, it is tough, and I'm somebody that can speak on that personally. Just going through, building up, and then you had the injury, and it's a setback. But it's a mental thing. It's a mental thing. Physically, he's gonna be fine. You know, it's not the end of his career at all. You know, so physically he'll be fine. He'll be back, rehabbed, and ready to go. It's just mentally staying engaged and not getting to that thought process of here we go again, or I did all this to get set. None of that. And you know, he's somebody that's mentally tough and has faced adversity. He got the guys around him as well to make sure that that's not a problem. So whenever we get Big AP back, we'll be ready to roll.
Yeah, I think we're all set. Thanks, Terron.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Terron.
Man, it was hot.